Hi guys, so the former Belgian Prime Minister and senior member of the European Parliament, Guy Verhofstadt, had some very strong words for both the European Union and for Germany. Now, most of you are probably familiar with him as he's known for his passionate rants against Brexiteers like Nigel Farage and other Eurosceptics and liars, but also his powerful speeches in favour of the European Union and Europe in general. Well, this is another one of those. He chastises the European Union's leadership when it came to the sanctions against Russia, which are supposed to be helping Ukraine, but he was right in his attack on those measures that don't go far enough. Have a listen to what Guy had to say.
You know why your strategy doesn't work? Because progressive packages of sanctions with an autocrat doesn't work. That works with a democracy, with Democrats who have a public opinion, a real public opinion. In Russia, there is no longer a real public opinion.
And he's correct about this. So if you're applying sanctions to a country and that country has a democracy, well, that will put pressure on opposition parties. It will empower opposition parties to remove the person who's in power. In the situation with Iran we've seen in the past, the sanctions were not really having much of an effect. But when it comes to Russia, the sanctions are not really having any effect at all. Yes, it's damaging the economy, but there's no one there to replace Putin, and there's no one there to stand up to him because he has manufactured his parliament in a way that he will always maintain control.
The reality is that it doesn't work because the fifth package is what? Coal. It's ridiculous. It's only 3% of the imports from Russia. SWIFT, the ban, ridiculous. More than 50% of the financial institutions are still outside the ban. And the oligarchs. The oligarchs, yeah, we extend a little bit to oligarchs. The oligarchs will escape finally the sanctions or lose a little bit of their money.
And we've seen how the oligarchs have moved their boats, for example, outside outside the zone of threat to their wealth. They've moved some of their boats to Turkey, for example. The sanctions have had somewhat of an effect. The ban on SWIFT has had somewhat of an effect, but not enough. There are two ways of looking at this. We either ramp up the sanctions gradually and hope they'll have an effect, or you need to impose very strict sanctions immediately. But it has to hit the people around Putin, the people who are propping him up. Now, I'm not talking about so much Parliament, I'm talking about the people in his inner circle.
You need to tackle the 6,000 people around Putin, the real people working with Putin. And we have the list. Alexei Navalny, the foundation of Navalny, has made a list of 6,000 people. These people you need to tackle. And so I have a request to you. I'm sorry that I'm telling it to you because I think that for 90% you agree with me, in fact. I'm pretty sure about that. So I wanted to say that to Michel and to von der Leyen. In the name of this 2012, it's time to change your strategy. It's time to have an extra European Council the fastest as possible and to go for the full package of sanctions immediately so that you can really make a difference.
Now, full package of sanctions, of course, would be to end oil imports from Russia. But on the other side, you have to cushion European economies from the damage that's going to inflict upon them. So it's not just a matter of imposing sanctions on Russia. You know, if you have countries who are saying, well, you know, if you cut off oil supplies to our country, if you're going to cut off gas supplies to our country, we're going to suffer. So you need to give us some sort of support, be it resources from elsewhere or financial support, where we can actually provide people with the funding necessary. Now we're moving out of winter, we're moving into spring, so there's less need for people to rely, in not all over Europe, or in some parts of Europe, to rely less on gas for heating their homes. But the cost of living is still going up. So there needs to be money coming from the European Parliament, European Commission, to help people out, to help out member states. If that's not coming, then the sanctions are going to have an effect, also a bigger effect on member states as well. And that's going to create problems within member state countries.
All the rest will not work. All the rest will prolong the war. All the rest will be more killings on the Ukrainian side. And finally, a little advice to my friends in Germany. I think that after the horrors of the Second World War, there have emerged, I'm finishing, a strong and democratic Germany. A very strong and democratic Germany. But from such a Germany, I expect leadership, leading by example, and not dragging defeat, as we see it today.
I think it's important. Now, I have been on Germany's side since the beginning of this crisis because I think it's important to understand the historical context here. Germany has spent the last 75, 80 years attempting to make amends for what happened during World War II. Keeping out of conflicts where possible. It's been involved in some conflicts, but its constitution, in a sense, is against war. And we've seen that how at the beginning of this conflict, it seemed like Germany was throwing obstacles in the way of support for Ukraine. And I think that's part of their ethos. It's part of their rebuilding since World War II and the recovery from the horrors of World War II. So I think that has changed now. Germany has realized that, we have to pick a side here. At the beginning, they wanted to remain as neutral as possible, providing very basic equipment to the Ukrainians, like helmets and protective equipment, which of course is necessary, but is not what the Ukrainians were demanding. That has changed over the last number of weeks and months, you could say. So Germany has taken a much more proactive approach to this. There are still concerns within Germany about becoming a bit more aggressive when it comes to dealing with countries like Russia and Putin in particular. But I think it's important to understand that while Germany is a powerful democratic state in Europe at the moment, it needs to step up to the plate. It needs to shake off the problems of the past and lead, just as Guy Verhofstadt has pointed out here. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.